Hi there guys, we are Total Space. Today we're talking space. We've got launch updates, Starlink, Mars Society Convention, NASA tipping point contracts, and ULA. I'm AnotherSpaceNut.
I'm Ryan from the Space Update.
My name is Mikko.
Let's get stuck into today's episode.
Okay, so launch updates the past week. On the 13th of October, we had New Shepard, 7th launch and land of that little booster. They launched a few little payloads just up to the edge of space and then slowly floated back down. They also had some NASA sensors on there for the lunar lander. And then on the 14th of October, we had that Soyuz rocket sending to the International Space Station in a record 3 hours and 3 minutes, the fastest ever point-to-point travel. And then on the 18th of October, we had Starlink 14 launch and land, and that double catch. And coming up, we got Rocket Lab on the 15th, and that's their 15th launch. It's launch 17, where they're going to start catching the boosters. And then Starlink 15 on Wednesday the 21st.
That's quite interesting. 2 Starlink missions going within a few days of each other. We haven't seen that before. I think we can find the reason for this from GPS launch scrub earlier this month. Elon tweeted after the scrub which happened 2 seconds before liftoff, that there was unexpected pressure rise in turbomachinery gas generator. Sometime after that, NASA moved Crew 1 flight, and seems like GPS and Enroll 108 are on hold as well, due to SpaceX investigating the issue. We got more information from Sentinel-6 mission briefing from NASA launch service provider representative. He said that SpaceX has rigorously been testing engines in McGregor, and some modifications will happen, like some physical modifications. He also said that they would be completed before Sentinel launch date, which is 10th November. So my speculation is that SpaceX already made modifications to these 2 Starlink boosters and are now testing those out. Before the weekend Starlink launch, we also had a static fire, which have not been SpaceX's usual way anymore. I think it's just mind-boggling how SpaceX can just say to the customer, hey, could you wait a while we fly a couple of rockets to test out the fix, so you don't have to take the risks. Just imagine this situation on other rockets like Ariane 5 or Atlas 5.
Yeah, I think SpaceX, they have that many rockets at the moment, especially reused ones. Some of them are just that reliable because they've already flown 3, 4, 5 times. It's not a brand new rocket like you see with ULA and others. The brand new rocket might have issues and they have to iron those out. Whereas SpaceX, like we've seen with that last Starlink launch, that was actually the 6th launch and landing with that booster, I believe.
Yeah, it was the 6th launch and landing, and that was the 2nd booster to do that.
Yeah, and they're, like you say, they're doing a lot of testing and everything in the background. They always seem to have little hiccups with some of the new boosters. I don't know why, but once it's flown 2 or 3 times, it seems to get more reliable, to be honest.
Yeah, they never seem to have problems with the used booster, and being the most used launch vehicle today, I wouldn't be scared to put a payload on the rocket even after a couple of scraps.
I think the fairings are the one that they're having issues with, aren't they? I know I saw a picture yesterday, I believe it was you, Ryan, that had sent it over, of Rit's net with a shiny fairing looking like it's going to get smashed to pieces on its way back to coast.
The rumour was with that it landed heavy on one corner and caused the net to collapse.
Yeah, I think SpaceX webcast hosts actually confirmed that it dropped out of some hole in the net. They actually caught both of the fairings.
I think it's only the 2nd time I think they've done that, is it? Or the 3rd time?
Yeah, I think so too.
They always seem to catch at least one Occasionally none of them, but I think they've only done it once previously. I think maybe 3 or 4 months ago, earlier on in the year.
Alright, let's talk about this year's NASA's tipping point selections. There were 3 subcategories, and the first category was cryogenic fluid management technology demonstration. First, we have ETA Space with a 27 million prize that will fly a complete cryogenic oxygen fluid management system on Rocket Lab's Proton satellite, and it's going to stay in orbit for 9 months.
Yeah, it's interesting to know that I think that's the first really declared use of the photon kick stage, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. So then we have Lockheed Martin getting 89 million for an in-space demonstration mission using liquid hydrogen. They are testing more than a dozen cryogenic fluid management technologies, positioning them for infusion into future space systems. And while we are at it, there's also ULA on the list, and they are getting 86 million for a demonstration of a smart propulsion cryogenic system using liquid oxygen and hydrogen on a Vulcan Centaur upper stage. The system will test precise tank pressure control, tank-to-tank transfer, and multi-week propellant storage. So, what do you think about those?
I mean, looking from the numbers again, you can see the 2 big dogs of the space world, Lockheed Martin and the ULA, typically getting the larger chunks of money, and then you've got SpaceX doing their fuel transfer for 53 million, around about that, but literally getting 53 million for something they're already technically doing anyway, which is an easy one for them by the sounds of it.
Yeah, exactly. Just transfer 10 tons of cryogenic propellant, specifically liquid oxygen, between tanks on a Starship vehicle. So it's going to be a single Starship vehicle, maybe from the header tanks to the main tanks, and that's really something they would probably do in just a regular mission.
Yeah, I think the Starship's technically set up to do that anyway, so it's just kind of it's carrying one of the cargo ones might be carrying up to 100 metric tons anyway, regardless, so it'll just transfer a few to the actual fuel tanks and we'll just fire up the engine again.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any problems there.
I mean, we watched SpaceX pumping cryogenic propellants in and out of Starships quite regularly down at Boca Chica. So it's just another day for SpaceX, isn't it? Another day at the office. We'll just send a ship up, transfer 10 metric tons of cryogenic propellants from one ship to another, and then we'll just bring the rockets back down home and use them at a later date.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Only thing they have to think about is microgravity, so how the liquids will flow through the tanks.
And I believe the Lockheed Martin one, what they're trying to do is harness liquid hydrogen, so it doesn't, because I believe liquid hydrogen boils off a lot slower than LOX and methane. So I believe they're trying to reduce the amount of boil off, because obviously if you have Starship, all these different fuel stations lined up for the Mars mission, because Starship's going to have to fuel up 4, 5, 6 times. If you have these little stations waiting for Starship to come along, you're going to lose a percentage of fuel just by boil off. So I think Lockheed Martin, what they're doing with their 89 million is to reduce boil off in orbit of actual cryogenic propellants.
Yeah, that's correct. And the liquid hydrogen they are using is the most challenging of the cryogenic propellants. It will boil off very easily. Liquid oxygen and methane are about the same, I would say.
Yeah, they're the same. I think liquid hydrogen's the slowest out of the two.
Yeah, hydrogen is the most challenging one.
Some of the other companies won a couple of million just for tests on the lunar surface and stuff like that, to test experiments in the lunar environment. So you've got AlphaSpace Test and Research Alliance of Houston. They've got 22.1 million to do some tests on the lunar surface.
Yeah, those are quite interesting tests. There's also Astrobotic, which is going to get just about 6 million to mature and demonstrate a fast wireless charging system that addresses challenges associated with using the technology on Moon. The effort will build and deliver flight units for potential use on commercial robotic landers. Then we have Intuitive Machines. They will develop a small deployable hopper lander. It's capable of carrying a 1 kilogram payload more than 2.5 kilometers. Then I think one of the most interesting is Nokia. So they are planning to deploy 4G communication systems in space. How about that? Then we have one familiar company there, Sierra Nevada Corporation, and they will develop demonstration scale hardware that uses methane and concentrated solar energy to extract oxygen from lunar regolith.
I like the Maxar award of 8.7 million as well to develop a lighter and less expensive robotic arm for lunar surface applications.
Yeah, they all do. Very interesting stuff.
It just makes you realise there's a lot more going on rather than just the big dogs doing all these massive new rockets going to the moon, the Mars and beyond, and satellites and everything else. There's all these other little companies in the background doing all the essential stuff that you don't really think about sometimes, like Sierra Nevada. Maybe not a small company, obviously, but 2.4 million to extract oxygen from lunar regolith. That's incredibly important, especially for refueling on the moon's surface.
Yeah, just for breathing.
Yeah, that is one added bonus to having oxygen on another planet, isn't it? The ability to breathe.
Yeah, that would be quite challenging otherwise.
So, I mean, Marsden Space are a quite interesting award winner on this list, because not only do they have the closed-loop descent and landing demonstration, but they're also part of the innovative technologies category as well, which is quite interesting to know that one company's won 2 separate awards.
Yeah, looks like the other prize is for chemical heat and electrical power source attachment. Yeah, sounds interesting. There was also quite a few other power generating prizes.
And I'm sure there's probably a few more to come. I mean, the amount of companies involved with the lunar mission alone, or the Artemis program, is just growing by the month by the looks of it. Because the UK has just signed a deal with the US to get involved a lot more. They already have been involved with basic technologies with the SLS rocket and other bits.
Yeah, so that was NASA Tipping Point 2020.
So did you guys catch any of the Mars Society 2020 viral convention this year? Some quite interesting stuff. What are your favourites?
Yeah, I spent hours watching those presentations. I think one of the most important was Mars Direct version 3, and there was also some nuclear propulsion that were really interesting, as well as some greenhouses and habitats.
I'm still catching up on it all at the moment. I've been really busy just getting articles sorted and everything, but I've seen like bits flying around on social media about Elon Musk saying everyone should be more reusable and stuff like that.
I know, just touching on what Mikko said, I would agree that Mars Direct 3 was definitely one of the superior talks there.
Okay, we're going to move on to my topic now. We're going to talk ULA and all their launch systems. ULA is actually made up of Lockheed Martin and Boeing. It's a joint venture, ULA. It's not a separate company and everything. Their 2 main rockets at the moment is the Delta IV Heavy and the Atlas V. Atlas V was actually 2002. That one was made and designed by Lockheed Martin prior to ULA joining forces, Boeing and Lockheed Martin. The Delta IV Heavy was a joint project from Boeing and Lockheed. But there's been a lot of problems with the Delta rocket lately. As you probably know, Scrub City. I've lost count of the amount of times that Delta IV and Enroll 44's got cancelled. due to problems with the rocket, problems with the pad, and God knows what else. But a short while ago, pinged a message to Tori Bruno, and he revealed to me that Delta IV Heavy's actually only got 5 launches left, including this one that's grounded at the moment. So that's going to be decommissioned at some point very early next year, in line for the launch of Vulcan. But by the looks of it, they're keeping on the older Atlas V rocket, which is quite kind of understandable, really, because a lot of technology that's going to be in Vulcan is already in Atlas V right now. So the Atlas V in 2002 is completely different to the Atlas V currently today that's launched the likes of OSIRIS-REx, that's about to literally has been or touched the asteroid at Bennu, getting some samples from the surface there, and it's launched Curiosity rover, the Perseverance rover, New Horizons, incredible rocket, the Atlas V, and believe that one's going to be running easily until 2029, possibly. A lot of the rockets seem to run for a good 30 years if they are successful. What are your guys' thoughts on the Delta rocket being took out of commission next year?
I mean, it's a sad thing, because Delta rockets have been quite reliable, and who doesn't love a rocket that lights itself on fire? Yeah,
and it's absolutely insane the way to call it the metal rocket. Tori Bruno and a few others call it, because the rocket sets itself on fire before launch, and pretty metal.
Like, a lot of people have bad things to say about ULA, and I know they cost plus, and I myself am responsible for saying a few negative things, but at the same time, I encourage any launch provider that is sending things to space to continue doing that, even if that is in a cost plus way. Can't argue with the technology either, it took men to the moon. It's taking things to space for us still today.
Yeah, ULA still has some advantages over SpaceX. For example, they have never lost a rocket in a ULA time, and one of the features that the rocket has is adjustable launch windows, because they can launch within half an hour window, and SpaceX basically has to go with the 0-second launch opportunity.
Yeah, ULA have that unique window, so if they do need to postpone or hold, we have the opportunity to hold for 10 or 15 minutes and then go for launch again, whereas SpaceX, it's literally launch or stop it.
Yeah, SpaceX used to have a lot of problems with those cryogenic propellants that need the 1-second launch window, because otherwise the propellants would just boil off.
Yeah. And some often forget that although Falcon Heavy is the most powerful rocket at the moment, the Delta IV Heavy can actually lift more than the Falcon 9 Heavy.
For low Earth orbit, Falcon Heavy is the king, but when you go towards the high energy missions, towards the Sun or outer solar system, then Delta IV Heavy is still the king.
Definitely. When Vulcan comes online, it'll transform their capability, I think. It seems Delta is just giving them headache after headache at the moment with the rocket. They have a problem valve or something with the heating system or something like that in one of them. So Tori Bruno said, right, we'll switch them out on all 3 boosters, get it back on the pad, and we'll just launch it. Put it back on the pad, and then there was a problem with the swing arm on the pad.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere that Enroll 44 mission has been on the pad for about 11 months. That's a long time.
Yeah, it's been postponed for quite a while. It got put off for quite a while because of the bad weather, so they just said, right, we'll launch in 2 or 3 months' time. And it just landed on a part of just problems going wrong, all left, right and centre with everyone. Because we had ULA cancelling rockets, SpaceX with 1 or 2 problems. Then we had even one of the Antares rockets from NASA Wallops got pushed back slightly, which was a cargo mission to the International Space Station, but that one seemed to get away eventually and make it to the International Space Station.
Yeah, seems like Scraptober is kind of over. We'll see how the rest of the month goes.
Delta 4 Heavy's going out next year, but Atlas 5, it just must be an absolute workhorse because, again, Tory Bruno, one of his other sayings with that rocket, the Atlas 5, or the Atlas V, if you like, calls it the Dominator. I mean, if you look at its track record, what it's achieved in the past and the future coming up, it's just absolutely unbelievable when you compare it to some other rockets at the moment.
Yeah, SpaceX only just months ago passed the number of most launches.
Yeah, I mean, SpaceX are launching more than anyone else at the moment. I mean, per month, if you like, or per year so far. But ULA has still got that superior. We'll launch that satellite in that orbit within 2 feet, literally. ULA have just got that. Although they're not reusable, they've got that superior technology and backers of the likes of Lockheed Martin, who design and produce highly advanced aircraft and military products.
Yeah, they definitely have been a workforce for military and Air Force. I guess now it's time for SpaceX to take the throne.
I think SpaceX adds that little spice to things. You know, if you want somebody who can consistently launch things to space and has a really good track record of sending things to space, and you don't mind paying money for that reassurance, then ULA is probably your go-to. You know, there's nobody else, I would say, as qualified as the ULA to launch things into space at present. But then SpaceX just sort of like, you know, it adds that missing ingredient of starting to reuse rockets, starting to climb ranks, and starting to put things into space. Eventually, you know, like 30 years from now, SpaceX are going to be the go-to regardless if these big companies don't change.
Yeah, and one thing we didn't mention just yet is that I think all the United States Mars missions have flown on ULA rockets. That's quite the achievement.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's partially down to their performance and accuracy in most of the Mars missions. If you look back, they're all done on that Atlas V, and some of the most important satellite missions that are going beyond Earth quite often are done on the Atlas V, and a handful have been done on the Delta. And obviously you've got Starliner, although it's been a bit dug down on Boeing's side. That's hopefully going to get sorted by probably early next year. I think it's being pushed back to now, but that's actually launching on the Atlas V, that one, or the Atlas 5 if you like to call it that. ULA have just got that superior track record at the end of the day, haven't they?
Yeah, they will certainly have a place in the history books. For Starliner, the uncrewed mission is scheduled for January 2021, and I think the crewed one would be in the summer of 2021 if uncrewed is successful.
It's worth noting as well the Atlas V that they're going to carry on using. There was originally a plan to make that a heavy rocket with 2 side boosters, which would have been bigger than Delta. Similar kind of configuration, it's 3 large boosters in total. No solids on this one, the SRBs on the side if you like, and then just a whopping fairing on the top, which would have been absolutely incredible, but that idea got canned for some reason at the very beginning when they brought the Atlas V online in the early 2000s. They just went for keeping the small solid rocket boosters just up to 5, anything from no boosters right up to 5 boosters strapped down. So that option must have just seemed more flexible, because if you look at the actual range of rockets on the Atlas V, you've got 11 flight configurations of the Atlas V, different fairing sizes, different one booster rocket for the second stage, or 2. Never really needed 2 because the engine on that is just absolutely immense to push the rocket into orbit.
Yeah, I would think that they cancelled the rocket because they had Delta 4 Heavy, so they probably didn't need more capacity. And I saw a tweet from Tory Bruno. He had a model of the Vulcan rocket with 2 side boosters. So that would be fun to see if they ever do that.
Yeah, it seems like they always consider the crazy over-the-top ideas, because I saw that as well. It was literally 3 core boosters as like a heavy style rocket of the Vulcan. Like the Atlas V, that was intended to be like that, but then it got cancelled. Whether we see the Vulcan Heavy, who knows? We're obviously going to see it first with the side boosters, which are going to be the Gem 63 XL boosters, I believe, from Northrop Grumman. They're actually going to be tested on the next Atlas V mission, which is the NROL 101, I believe. They're going to be the boosters they're going to be tested first on Atlas V on the next flight in the next month. Again, just testing more and more hardware for Vulcan on Atlas V. So we could see Atlas V lasting an awful lot longer, because it's literally 75% of Vulcan, barring the fact that it doesn't look like one, and it's using the RD-180 Russian engines, which the Vulcan won't have, obviously.
Yeah, the big question is how well Blue Origin's methane-based engines will work.
Yeah, I believe they'll work really well. They're supposedly producing well over £500,000 of thrust, which is higher than SpaceX's Raptor engines currently. But I can imagine Elon Musk will want to catch up to those B4 engines to have more superiority over it. But not a race at the end of the day, as long as we get there. But it'd be nice to have a bigger engine. But like I say, it was the little New Shepard launch and the smaller version, which is the B3, I think. That one seems to work really well. It's all dependent on flight testing, because obviously it's a slightly different setup of the engine compared to the little New Shepard rocket.
Yeah, I really want to see something else from Blue Origin than the New Shepard rocket. It's suborbital, so it would be nice to see them give some challenge to SpaceX.
One thing Tori Bruno dropped on the BA4 engines a little while ago, it was well publicised when they first got the final engine from Blue Origin. We saw it literally all over the news, early August or mid-August. ULA get first engine from Blue Origin, this, that and the other. They actually got one demo one, actually the very beginning of the year, which no one seemed to bat an eye about, or whether Tori Bruno just literally told me about it, I don't know. It's one of those odd things, but they apparently had a test one earlier on in the year for pathfinding for all the basic systems for Vulcan, which next to no one knew about. So they technically got two engines sitting in there, not just one. So the media are a bit behind on that one. So a little exclusive for you there. Thanks for joining us today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'm Ryan from the Space Update.
I've been Mikko.
And I'm Another Space Nut.